And now we're going to hear from Rondi Ng, Senior Vice President of Applications Development, and Matt Bradley, Senior Vice President, Product Development, EPM at Oracle, on the technologies, best practices, and capabilities that CFOs and their finance teams can use to reignite growth and lead their companies in an economically fundamentally reshaped by the pandemic. Welcome, gentlemen. Great to see both of you.
Great to see you, Mark.
You last time on stage, this time virtual, but the content is still great. Rondi, we've heard from some wonderful customers and thought leaders so far today. Now we'd like to get into how you and the team are enabling customers' big moves from a technology standpoint. So how are you partnering with customers to help them be successful?
So first of all, I want to tell everybody that over the past few years, we have had really amazing customer momentum. Over 7,500 customers have adopted our cloud ERP solutions, and over 5,800 of them have gone live already, and many are deploying in phases. Now, even with the tough environment since March last year, implementations and go-lives were even more active than the year before. Now, just over the past few holiday weeks, we have had over 120 go-lives in core ERP. That's about 3 times the same period last year. Now, clearly, many of the finance leaders from our customer base are telling us that they see the urgency to accelerate their digital finance transformation programs, in particular via the SaaS adoption. Now, this is not only to keep their remote workforce effective in processing transactions and closing the books, but more importantly, to accelerate getting to some timely finance view of the business and drive many predictions, scenario modeling, and forecasts, and ultimately influence timely business changes and decisions, including actually pivoting into a new digital model that we've heard from some of the previous speakers before. So generally, a lot more real time, much more business impact from finance than ever before with cloud transformations.
Very good, thank you. The speed just seems to be picking up. Matt, what would you add to that answer?
What we've seen is that resilient organizations, they'll take advantage of any downturn and exit from it much stronger. And they're doing that a lot with the scenario modeling, the ability to visualize multiple what-if scenarios to assess how best to respond to those in a risk-adjusted fashion. We can identify the strategic levers to pull to strengthen the balance sheet, to really look at the cash flow, and to look at the recovery phase and how that should actually pan out through. We believe this is a C-level conversation, and it will continue to be a best practice going forward for the FP&A organizations. In fact, in a recent survey of our customers in the Oracle Cloud, 71% of them have actually shifted to really take advantage of scenario modeling to really figure out what to do next and what are the moves they need to take.
Rondi, back to you. Could you tell us about some of the recent innovations that you've introduced that support customers as they make these really very big moves?
Now, like Larry said earlier before, SaaS delivers innovations faster than any other prior models, and particularly on-premise applications. Now, just last 12 months alone, we have delivered over 1,700 new features in our cloud ERP suite via our standard quality updates. Half of these innovation ideas came directly from partnering with our customers through multiple different channels, including our online forum, Customer Connect, with an idea lab over there. Now, many of these innovations are incremental steps towards our broad finance vision. The themes associated with that, there are 2 broad themes. One is a touchless operational theme, and then the other one is the continuous insights theme. Let me give you a few examples of the innovations. Last year, we delivered 2 touchless automation features, which we call intelligent document recognition, IDR, and intelligent process automation. Now, one automates processing any transaction documents, like, for example, your images or PDF forms from your manual data entry. The other one automates processes like month-end reconciliations and any of the other close steps. Both of these capabilities are leveraging machine learning. So not just kind of automates a lot of the steps, but it also actually learns from human intervention and correction and improves continuously over time. Now, in addition to that, we've created a number of digital assistants, these kind of bots, call it, to help you use voice and any of the other social platforms like Slack, Microsoft Teams, to create self-service transactions like expense reports, entering time cards, or maybe simple things like checking on your reconciliation due and so on.
All right. Thank you for that. Very detailed. Love it. Matt, it's time to be a futurist now. What is next on the horizon? You know, what is your future vision or indeed the evolution of accounting processes that you might see?
You know, the current pandemic has been an accelerant to change. And we're seeing a shift away from the annual operating plan. By the time that's put in place, the world has shifted, the assumptions have moved. So we have to move much quicker and much faster in order to really drive this continuous forecasting. The other thing that we have seen is really a shift, you know, change in the CFO behavior, is to move closer and closer to the customer, to really get these leading indicators as to what's happening in the business and to bring those into the forecasting process as operational drivers. And in order to achieve both those, an increase in the number of users and also an increase in the frequency, you have to, as Rondy pointed out, move to machine-driven forecasting. Yeah. Have the machine generate the forecast and see that forecast, and then bring the human judgment in to augment it and to move away from these sort of non-value-added activities and increasing this automation. The other thing that we are seeing is really a need to become much more of this business planner and business partner. And that's to really have this tighter alignment between finance and operations. So it's simple things like connecting the sales forecast with the financials, operating the front end of the house with the back end of the house. It's also looking at integrated business planning, covering, you know, as Larry pointed out, financial objectives that we have with your supply chain. Can you deliver the services and ensuring you've got consistency across the board at that level? Not only in the supply chain, but also potentially with your workforce, ensuring they have the skills to deliver what you need to deliver when you need them to deliver at the appropriate time. And even at a much more sort of deeper finance level, deepening the connections from a process standpoint, looking at cash forecasting and cash management and really trying to leverage that asset much more effectively as we go forward. But tied around all of this, in echo some of our panelists have mentioned, is that we don't have all the answers. We're listening to you, we're listening to the customers to understand what challenges they're facing in their specific industry. And like them, we are constantly replanning our roadmap so we can deliver the innovations at a pace that makes sense for them, that they can adopt. So we do welcome the input and really are listening to what's occurring across all industries and all businesses.
So I'm going to ask you one final question, really your closing thoughts or comments. Matt, I'll start with you.
I would say time is of the essence. You know, a deferred decision doesn't put you 6 months behind because your competition isn't deferring decisions. They're moving faster and faster, and these transformations are step changes. So it's not a linear progression. You get further and further behind the slower and slower you in order to arrive at a decision. So time is of the essence, and get moving now.
Very nice. Thank you. Rondy, it looks like you get the last word.
Clearly, we see a lot of benefits going to the cloud. So you've heard from a lot of different speakers talk about the benefits there. But one thing that I'd like to leave for the audience to think about is why actually you want to defer the cloud adoption. What's the risk to you by not actually adopting the cloud transformation sooner? I think the sooner that you do that, the more benefits and more future-proof that you're going to be.
Fantastic. Rondy, Matt, as always, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for a fascinating glimpse into how you're both thinking about the future of finance and how technology can help CFOs pivot into growth in 2021. Thank you both.
Thank you.